My wife cheated on me once. Once was enough. I'm sure she thought she had everything under control, never anticipating how I would handle it. The unfolding events played out like a typical story. Married for 15 years, our relationship had faded into routine. We drifted apart, living under the same roof but as strangers in different rooms. The warmth that once bound us had turned cold. She distanced herself, and I noticed. We were no longer partners, no longer lovers, no longer confidants. The clues she left behind were too many to ignore. So I did some digging. What I found confirmed my suspicions. At the very least, she was emotionally invested in someone else. She started complaining more often, but I had long since tuned out her grievances. This time, though, I listened. I truly listened. She was unhappy in our marriage. She had fallen out of love with me. If I had begged her to reconsider, pleaded to rekindle our love, she would have only pulled away further. When she looked at me, I saw it, the last bridge between us crumbling. To hell with this, I muttered, downing my beer. I replayed our last argument over and over, trying to find a way to win her back. After all, she was mine. But the harder I tried, the further she slipped away. Late at night, I sat alone while she slept in our big family bed. I nursed my wounded pride, staring into the darkness, until a thought struck me. Why was I fighting her feelings? Why was I trying to convince her she was wrong? She had been telling me the truth all along, a truth I had refused to accept. How foolish was it to argue with someone about their own emotions? Her feelings were her reality, whether I liked it or not. And what about me? That's when it hit me. I wasn't happy either. I wasn't even sure if I loved her anymore. I was clinging to the idea of our marriage, not the reality of it. That moment of realization shook me. Took time to piece everything together, but now I had a plan. Whether it worked or not, I no longer cared. What we had been doing wasn't working. And doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result, was the very definition of insanity. I smiled, tossed my empty bottles into the trash, and chose the guest bedroom for the night. It was the first step in my plan. Linda barged in the next morning, flicking on the light, disrupting my sleep. "Why are you sleeping in here?" she asked. I squinted against the brightness. "Stayed up late. Didn't want to disturb you." She studied me for a moment before heading to the kitchen for her usual coffee. I wasn't a coffee drinker. I had the rare ability to wake up alert and ready. Today, more than ever, I felt prepared. My step was lighter. I was free. Linda sat across from me in the living room, fists clenched. She was nervous but determined. "Frank," she started, hesitating. "This isn't working. I feel lost. I don't think I love you anymore." I simply looked at her, unfazed. She paused before pressing on. "I think we need a divorce." The word hung in the air, heavy. I smiled. She frowned, confused. "That sounds good," I said. She blinked. "Frank, did you hear me?" I nodded. "Yes, I heard you. You don't love me. You want a divorce." "I agree." She stared at me, bewildered. I leaned forward, meeting her eyes. "Linda, I can't change how you feel. I won't even try. If you don't love me, how can I argue with that?" She opened her mouth but said nothing. She had rehearsed this moment in her head, over and over, expecting resistance. My calmness threw her off balance. "Wait, you said you didn't love me either?" she asked, voice quieter now. "There were times, just like for you." Her expression shifted. All this time, she had assumed she held the power in this conversation. Now she wasn't so sure. "Well," I said, standing up, "if that's all, I'll be heading out." "Wait, what?" Her voice wavered. "Where are you going?" "I think I'll hit a few bars." I slipped on my jacket. Might even start looking for someone else. I waved goodbye, leaving her sitting there, stunned, her mouth slightly open. At the bar, I ordered a bourbon and found a quiet table. My phone was in my hand before I even thought about it. I called Jessica, a coworker known for her love of gossip. Playing the role of the wounded husband, I relayed my tragic tale, making sure to emphasize how blindsided I was by Linda's request for a divorce. I knew exactly what I was doing. Jessica, who had always flirted with me at work, was single and eager. "Oh, Frank," she purred. "You shouldn't be alone tonight." That was all it took. She invited herself out under the guise of being a friend. I made sure we met at a bar Linda and her friends often frequented. Was I worried she'd see me? Not in the slightest. My marriage was apparently over. Linda didn't love me anymore, and frankly, in that moment I didn't love her either. Jessica arrived quickly, dressed to kill. When she saw me, her confident smile wavered. My body language didn't match the heartbroken man she had expected. "Frank," she said, sitting close. "Are you okay?" I held up my bare ring finger. "She wants a divorce. Why should I fight it?" I ordered another drink. Jessica ordered her usual Cosmo. "Over the phone, you sounded more upset," she noted. I shrugged. "Jess, we've been unhappy for a long time. Maybe I don't love her like I used to. She wants this, so I'm not going to fight it. I'm done waiting around, forgotten and unloved." Jessica took a long sip of her drink, studying me. I could see the gears turning in her head. "Maybe we should dance?" she suggested. I didn't wait for a response. I took her hand and led her to the dance floor. She melted into me. "If this is just to get back at her," Jessica whispered. I raised an eyebrow. "Maybe." She pressed closer. "I'm okay with that." We danced for hours. No texts, no calls, no worrying about Linda. Felt good. Jessica was fun, confident, and, truthfully, more attractive than Linda. In the parking lot, we kissed. I opened her car door, smiling. "See you at work tomorrow." She nodded, already knowing what I knew. By tomorrow the whole office would be talking. And I didn't care. For the first time in years I was free. But the truth was, I was looking forward to rubbing this in Linda's face. "Where have you been?" Linda snapped as soon as I entered the house. She wasn't in bed. She had been waiting for me. The moment she heard the door open, she got up to confront me. I took off my coat, hung it in the closet, and started undressing for bed. "I went out," I said simply. "I told you I was leaving. Why should you care?" "Frank, I was worried you might do something." She hesitated, choosing her words carefully. "Something bad to yourself." I smiled at her. "Linda, I know how you feel. I'm okay with it. You want a divorce? I will gladly give you one. I would never force you to live with someone you no longer love." I picked up my pillow and my clothes for the next morning and turned towards the guest room. "Frank," Linda called out hesitantly. I stopped, shifting my things to the other hand. "What?" She looked down, unable to meet my eyes. "I don't understand. You don't have to sleep in another bed. Are you suggesting that you move out of our bedroom?" I wasn't about to make this easy for her. "Why? Were you planning to move out instead?" She gasped, wiping away a tear. I didn't mean that. I just meant, you can stay if you want to. If you don't want to, well, I guess I could move to another room." She was nervous. She had never considered the reality of sleeping alone. The thought of actually having to move out of her bedroom terrified her. I spared her the agony. "This bed is more comfortable. I'll stay here with you if it's not too much trouble." Her face brightened. "Oh yes, that would be wonderful. I mean, it's no problem for me." "Then it's settled," I said, tossing my pillow back onto the bed. She wanted to talk, but I was too tired. I told her we'd talk later. The next evening, I had already received advances from 3 women at work. A friend had even given me his sister's number. A widow struggling to find someone to date. I had set up dates for the upcoming week, including another one with Jessica. But tonight I had left open. I needed to talk to Linda. We needed to sort everything out. She needed to live her life and I needed to live mine. When I got home, Linda was waiting for me again. "Carol saw you last night at the bar," she said the moment I stepped in. "She said you were with a woman. Who was she? What were you doing together?" "Carol said you two looked very comfortable with each other." I could have exploded. I could have yelled at her for her hypocrisy. I could have thrown her own betrayals in her face. But I didn't. I smiled instead. "I'll answer your questions after I change." She tried to challenge me, but I ignored her and went to change. When I came back, She was standing there, arms crossed, eyes burning with anger and unshed tears. It was Jessica from work, I told her. I didn't deny it. I could see she expected me to make excuses, but I didn't. What were you doing together? She asked accusingly. We were on a date. A date? She shrieked. I nodded and sat down calmly. You have no right, she cried. We are married. What makes you think you can do that? I stood up, got a drink from the kitchen, and sat back down. She was still standing, her body tense, waiting for my answer. Why should it bother you? I asked. She stared at me, her mouth agape. We are married. But you want a divorce, don't you? She nodded, unsure of her voice. You said you don't love me, right? I said I'm not in love with you, she corrected. And I agree, Linda. You're no longer in love with me. So why shouldn't I go and find love elsewhere? You want a divorce. You don't love me. What reason do I have to stay here, trapped with you? She slumped into her chair. What will people say? Don't you realize how this looks? Carol is probably gossiping all over town about my husband dating some slutty woman. Don't you dare call Jessica a slut, I growled. She was a perfect lady, and I was a gentleman. She went on a date with a married man. I call that promiscuous. Oh, really? I said, standing up, pacing in front of her. She's single. If she's promiscuous, what does that make a married woman who entertains other men behind her husband's back? Linda stared at me, speechless. I could see the panic set in. How much does he know? What does that have to do with me? She exploded. I just looked at her. Silence stretched between us. She saw it in my face. I knew. Her body trembled. How much do you know? Enough, I shouted. Whether you slept with them or not, I don't care. This marriage ended the moment you decided to count me out. I'm not gonna cry over it. I'm moving on. I need to take care of myself, since my wife doesn't seem to care. I walked to the kitchen. Dinner wasn't ready. I made something for myself. A little later, she entered and watched as I finished. I'm very sorry, she said softly. I put my dishes away and turned to face her. I'm sorry too. I have plans for the rest of the week. Don't expect me home early. If you prefer, I can sleep in the guest room. She didn't respond. I went upstairs. That night, I chose the guest room. I'm sure Linda had a restless night. The next day, I went out with Christina, a divorced mother of two. We played laser tag, laughed like kids, and kissed under the dim neon lights. Felt good to be wanted again. When I got home, Linda greeted me. You seem to have had a good time, she said, her emotions carefully concealed. I did. Thanks for noticing. How was your evening? For the first time in months, we sat down and talked. She confessed she had never actually slept with anyone else, though she had kissed other men and confided in Justin from work. I wasn't ready to cheat, she whispered. Even if you didn't, you still betrayed me, Linda. We were a team, but I respect you for not crossing that line. She hesitated. Frank, I don't know if I want a divorce anymore. I smiled. Let me know when you figure it out. She followed me to the guest room. Frank, she whispered as I took off my shirt. Come back to bed. I hesitated. Do you think that's wise? Tears streamed down her face. I don't know. I just want you right now. I reached out, and she threw herself into my arms, sobbing. She was confused. I held her as we fell asleep. For now, that was enough. I repeated my mantra and opened the door to see Linda sitting and chatting with Carol, one of her friends. Frank, I didn't expect you to be back so early. Linda, Carol. I nodded at them. Carol shot me daggers with her eyes but said nothing. Work finished early, so here I am. Do you need some privacy? Linda and Carol exchanged glances. Then Carol rose from the couch. I should be going. Linda, I'll talk to you soon. Linda walked Carol to the door. Carol gave me a disdainful look but said nothing as she left. Sorry for intruding. I didn't mean to interrupt your evening, I said. Don't be silly, Frank. This is your home too. Home. When was the last time either of us had called this place home? Have you eaten? she asked. There were leftovers from what she and Carol had shared. I poked at the food while she busied herself cleaning up the kitchen. How are you? I asked. She sat down. I'm okay, I think. I invited Carol over to talk, but she only confused me more. How so? She wanted me to kick you out, change the locks, and divorce your ass. Well, my key still works. So I guess you didn't have time to call the locksmith? She laughed. Don't be silly. I had to explain to her that I was the one who asked for the divorce. After I told you that, what rights do I have over you? I left you, right? She looked intently into my eyes. That last part was a question she desperately wanted an answer to. I wanted to jump up and dispel her fears, tell her that I still belonged to her, but I didn't. I said nothing. In the past, my assurances would have pushed her away. Maybe this new non-committal stance might have a different impact on her. Changing the subject, I blurted out, I'm afraid I have some bad news. My date for tomorrow night canceled. Now I'm stuck with concert tickets. Maybe you'd like to go with me instead of another girl. Her face brightened. Oh, Frank, I would love to. I mean, if you want. I shrugged. Well, I could give these tickets to someone at work. No, she said decisively. I mean, I would be happy to go. Happy to go with me? She blushed and nodded. Are you sure? I asked. Yes, she whispered. I smiled. This could be fun. Linda was dressed and ready to go when I picked her up after work. She looked good dressed to impress. I was almost certain she dressed that way to impress me. I didn't know much about this band. Heather had suggested the concert, so I bought the tickets. They were good. Loud but good. I wasn't surprised when we ran into Heather. I saw that Linda was surprised by how good Heather looked, quickly realizing that she would have been my date tonight. I apologized to Heather, and she looked at Linda. Heather, this is Linda. Linda. Heather was supposed to be my date tonight, but something came up. Usually, when I introduced Linda, I always called her my wife. This time, I decided not to, and Linda noticed right away. Heather. It's so nice to meet you. I'm Mrs. Donaldson. She looked Heather directly in the eyes, and something passed between them. Heather was smart enough to apologize and said she'd see me at work the next day. Linda was seething with anger. She grabbed my hand. Frank, where's your wedding ring? I shrugged. At home. I took it off after you asked for a divorce. I don't need it anymore. Linda was once again at a loss for words. Honestly, it was fun to render her speechless. Frank, we aren't divorced yet. I smiled and focused on the music. Several times I went to the bar to refill our glasses. Each time, Linda watched me like a hawk. Every time I was at the bar, some woman would approach me, and I would chat with her. One even slipped me her number. Linda saw all this but said nothing. For the first time in a long while, Linda saw me in action. I think it surprised her, but she must have realized that the same charm, wit, and flirtation had once captivated her heart. Tonight, I think she remembered just that. She was silent all the way home. So was I. Once home, we began to get ready for bed. Frank, where's your wedding ring? I pointed to the sock drawer in the dresser. She walked over, opened it, and pulled out the gold band. She looked at it, then at me. The weight of the symbol hit her, and her eyes filled with tears. It's yours now, I told her. I think you should throw it away or sell it. She looked at me. What should I do with it? She asked hesitantly. Whatever you want. The ring was a symbol of our love, our marriage. At one point it was a shield, a warning that we were unavailable to others. Ever since you decided not to live with me anymore, I don't need this symbol to protect me. It only reminds me of what used to be. I looked her straight in the eyes until she met my gaze. When the time comes, you'll decide what to do with this ring. I approached her and closed her fingers around it. Frank, I was just falling asleep when she called out to me. Thank you for the evening. I enjoyed the concert and spending time with you. Anytime. I drifted back to sleep. In the morning, breakfast awaited me. Linda had made eggs and bacon. She was an excellent cook, and I appreciated her efforts. I noticed that Linda hadn't taken off her wedding and engagement rings. She fidgeted with them as she ate. That morning, Carol called me at work. Carol, I'm surprised to hear from you. What can I do for you? Lunch today. 12:30 at Bohemia. She hung up. I wasn't sure what to expect at lunch. I didn't know Carol very well. She was one of Linda's friends, and she had never been very friendly toward me. I entered the bar. Carol was already sitting at a table covered with a white linen tablecloth. She waved at me. Her face was tense and stern. This wouldn't be a pleasant conversation. As soon as I sat down and my order was taken, Carol fixed me with a glare. What the hell are you up to? Linda is in agony, and you're pulling this stupid stunt, dating other women right in front of her. For the first time, I felt myself blush. It was partly embarrassment, partly anger. Anything I said or did at this lunch would be reported straight back to Linda. I took a deep breath. Carol, how much do you really know about what's going on with Linda? I know her husband is acting like a complete idiot, she growled. Are you married, Carol? She shook her head. Have you ever been married? Another shake. Do you have a degree in counseling? I asked, my voice calm but firm. Carol blinked in surprise. What? You heard me. Do you have any professional qualifications to advise someone about marriage? She swallowed. No, but... And you've never been married either, right? Carol opened her mouth but hesitated. So what gives you the right to meddle in someone else's marriage? Her breath hitched. I'm her friend. Are you? I leaned forward. From where I'm sitting, I don't see that. How many times have you even spoken to me? Once, maybe twice? I've been married to Linda for 15 years. You claim to be her friend, yet have never made an effort to know the man she spent all these years with. I let my words sink in before continuing. You talk about helping her, guiding her, but all you know is her side of the story. Carol's eyes filled with tears, and I knew I had gotten through. I didn't press further. I had said what needed to be said. Carol, I continued, my voice softer now. Linda told me she wanted a divorce. She looked me in the eye and said, I don't love you anymore. Now tell me, how am I supposed to respond to that? What argument can I possibly make to prove her wrong? Carol remained silent. She wanted the divorce. I didn't, I said, finishing my drink. But I won't spend my life waiting for someone who doesn't want me. I stood up, giving her one last look. Other women see something in me that Linda no longer does. I didn't push her away. She pushed me. I'm done trying to change her mind. And with that, I left, knowing full well that the moment I stepped out of that restaurant, she would be on the phone with Linda. That night, I had a date with Janet. She was different from the others, young, beautiful, confident. Our dynamic had always been professional. But one day, I had cracked a joke in the office, and she had walked in at the punchline. I had turned to see her shocked expression, then grinned and said, Admit it, that was funny. She had hesitated, then burst out laughing. From that moment, she was one of the guys. But tonight, she was all woman. The chemistry between us was electric. She allowed me to go further than any of my previous dates, and at the very last moment, I was the one who pulled back. As much as I wanted to, I couldn't take that final step. Not yet. Linda and I had unresolved matters, and until they were settled, I couldn't cross that line. When I got home, Linda was in bed, the room dimly lit. Frank, she said softly. Yes. Please take a shower. I frowned. Why? She didn't turn to face me. Instead, she curled into herself, her voice breaking. Please, Frank. If you don't, I'll have to ask you to sleep in the guest room. Confused, I sat down beside her. What's going on? She still wouldn't look at me. You smell like her. Realization dawned, and a wave of guilt hit me. I'm sorry, I said, standing. I didn't realize. I want you in our bed, she whispered. But I can't handle this. I can pretend you're out with the guys. I can ignore what people say. But I can't ignore the scent of another woman on you. I leaned down, kissing her forehead. I was inconsiderate. I'll shower, and I'll come back. The next morning was Saturday. I had barely stirred when Linda woke me with breakfast. What's the occasion? I asked, amused. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she reached into her pocket and pulled something out. Slowly, she knelt in front of me, opening her hand to reveal my wedding ring. My breath caught. She gently took my hand and started sliding the ring back onto my finger. "Frank, I want to work on our marriage. I think I made a mistake." I studied her face. "Are you sure?" She nodded. "No divorce." I let out a slow breath. "And other men?" "There's no one else but you." There it was. The moment of truth. I had to be honest. "Linda," I said carefully, "I need you to understand something. I may still see other women." She swallowed hard. For a long time, we just looked at each other. Finally, she nodded. "I suppose I shouldn't be surprised." I tilted my head. "You okay with that?" "I love you," she whispered. I reached out, cupping her face. "Then show me." She met my kiss eagerly. The urgency between us was unlike anything we had shared in years. That night, we rediscovered each other, as if making up for all the time we had lost. And somewhere between our tangled sheets, she realized something. Something I didn't say out loud. She knew me too well. She knew, from my stamina, from the way I touched her, that I hadn't actually slept with anyone else. Linda didn't ask about my dates, and I didn't ask about her past. That chapter of our lives was closed. From then on, she looked at me differently. There was respect in her eyes, admiration even. I hadn't planned for things to turn out this way. At first, I had just been too stubborn to let her break me. But the more she saw me moving on, the more she realized what she was losing. What you don't have, you want the most. What you have, you take for granted. I live by those words now. So, am I still seeing other women? I haven't had to yet. Because now, Linda and I truly listen to each other. We hear each other. And as long as we do, there's no need for anything or anyone else. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.